Hello, everyone. I'm Alex Huddleston.
And I'm Evan Greenhill.
And I'm Zach McClure.
And this is Behind the Scenes, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with the entertainment industry. How are you guys doing tonight?
I could be better.
I'm doing great. This is fantastic. Zach, you wanna share what's going on inside you?
This is our second take, so fuck you.
Okay.
It is our second take because I enjoy screwing with the two of them.
You're not the one that controls the call, so fuck you.
Oh.
Zachary's having a special moment.
A special moment with Zach. Anyway, tonight's subject is one that I personally have been really looking forward to. The subject tonight is information post-scarcity.
Yeah.
What is this so foreign thing that you speak of?
Ready? 1, 2, 3. What is information post-scarcity?
I'm glad you asked. Post-scarcity, in its most general form, is just that. It's when something is no longer scarce. It is the point at which an object becomes so prevalent and so, I don't want to say worthless, but basically worthless to where it no longer is really economically viable. Information post-scarcity is what has happened recently with the internet. With the advent of the internet, we have instant, almost limitless access to all the information we could ever want. As I'm sure my cohorts can attest to.
Oh my god, the things I've seen and the things I've had done to me.
What are you talking about?
Okay, it was Mexico. It wasn't the internet, but it all rolls around.
To get back on topic, where do you think, in the general area, do you think the idea of post-scarcity first came from?
Well, the earliest real popular notion of post-scarcity, in my opinion, I don't know if this is fact or not, but was the show Star Trek. In that, basically, you have a civilization with, giant flying spaceships that have replicators that can instantly manufacture any material, any food, anything you could ever need. They never show anyone needing anything in Star Trek. You never see people farming. You never see people digging ores out of the ground or having to do any menial work. Everything's just done for them. They just fly around and have awesome adventures.
Yes, but that's untrue. Their show needing exactly one thing, and that's entertainment.
Yep.
Because in the idea of a post-scarcity, at least in the grand scale, with something like Star Trek, is when you have everything for free and available to you at any time, what is there to do? What is there to do? What do you set your life to do?
What do you crave? What fills your life with purpose?
And it's kind of funny because in real life, things have played out almost the exact opposite of that. In that, in real life, we still need things. We still need cheeseburgers. We still need cars and gas and everything. But
we still need them to make gangbang.
We definitely do need. We definitely do need cheeseburgers.
I could kill for a McGangbang right now. But the one thing which we don't really need, because the one thing which we have supplied to us in almost limitless amounts, is entertainment. Yeah. Entertainment and information is post-scarcity.
Yep.
Yes, and probably the most prevalent thing to involve post-scarcity would have to be YouTube.
YouTube definitely plays a huge part in it, in that no matter what you want to see, there's a really great chance that you could search for it on YouTube and find a video of it, no matter what. Anything.
Yep.
But what I think is probably the biggest question, and probably what we'll spend most of this talking about, is post-scarcity a good thing or a bad thing, especially when it comes to legal terms?
Personally, I'm of the opinion that post-scarcity isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's something that happens, and it's how we deal with it that determines whether or not it has a positive or negative effect.
And some people deal with it better or worse than others. Especially,
exactly.
But the big thing with post-scarcity, and I guess we could just call it the big thing with posting stuff that's not yours onto YouTube.
Yeah.
Which has a lot of legal gray area, especially when you try and argue fair use.
It is the legal gray area right now. That's pretty much the only thing anybody talks about in that aspect. Is people performing covers.
Well,
You
not
have,
just covers, just using songs in the background, using clips that aren't
Well,
theirs.
like one of my favorite examples of back when it was first really starting on YouTube. You remember like a couple of years ago, probably back in 2009, 2010, when people were really getting gung ho on the protection of property, especially on YouTube. You had people who were known for playing like they would write parodies of songs. Like I can't remember. Like there was this woman, I think her name was like a Nubian princess or something like that. She was famous for performing parodies of songs, and she'd gotten so many views and she'd monetized. She got all this money from it. Eventually, she got an email from the people at Google telling her that due to certain acts that were being enacted in legal world, wherever that is. She was not allowed to use the backing tracks or the actual melody to the songs that she was parodying. So it kind of changed from her really writing parodies of songs to basically just making fun of songs in a way, to making her own songs that were sort of pseudo parodies.
Which, when you discuss that, I would have to actually. And of course, this is being the people we are, I shouldn't, but I have to actually argue on Google's side on that. Because if she was writing straight parodies, then I would defend her to the death. But she very obviously is using other people's backing tracks, which I don't agree that they should have been pulled down because that's.
Well, I have no idea if she was actually doing that or not. I just think that was part of what she listed.
Well, if she was getting a cease and desist for making parodies, then I will defend her side of it because parody is protected under law.
But she wasn't being told not to make the parody. She was just being told not to use.
These are the limitations under which you can.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair use is a very, very murky topic in that there are a lot of times that fair use seems like it shouldn't apply, but it does, and quite a few where it seems like you should be able to claim fair use, but they still ram it through anyway, And I think it's kind of interesting that when you said you defended Google's side of it, you said, well, being the person I am, I don't know that I should. And that kind of illustrates kind of a strange thing for us in that on the one hand, we are creative types. We're all in creative industries. We don't want to support anything that stifles creativity. But on the other hand, all three of us also want to have careers in those industries. And so we kind of have to support measures protecting our right to make money off of stuff.
Yeah.
We're kind of in the middle of that gray area. We live in that gray area.
Which can be good and can be bad. It just depends on for being a wide gray area, in the middle of that gray area is a very, very, very thin rope that we walk on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you talk, we were talking about copyright protection and the protection of somebody's intellectual property when it comes to information scarcity. We were actually talking about just earlier the Jonathan Coulton thing.
Yes.
Glee,
yes.
and that's a really good example of that because I don't know what's gone into it. I've heard both the songs.
Okay, so here's basically what happened. Jonathan Coulton made a song that is a cover, an acoustic cover, very slowed down, and he changed the tempo a bit.
And he also very slightly changed a couple of lyrics.
Yes, and he changed a couple of lyrics of Baby Got Back.
Mm-hmm.
It would, by fair use, it was his song, because while it was a cover, he did change it enough to be considered under parody.
It was also one of the things that first got him recognized and basically became part of his whole, act.
Right.
And then Glee, basically, without contacting him, took the chords and the lyrics, including the lyrics he changed.
Yes.
In full.
That was the most egregious part of the Glee thing. At one point in the song, Jonathan Coulton changed the lyric to say Johnny C's in trouble because Johnny C. Jonathan Coulton.
Yeah.
Glee keeps that exact lyric, even though there's no one on the show named Johnny C.
But if it was just that, it would be really shitty. But shit like that kind of happens a lot.
Yeah.
You can't really cover it. The big issue, though, is when Glee then turned around and sold it.
Made a
Their
profit.
album.
They put it on the iTunes.
Yeah, they sold it over iTunes. They made profit off stuff that they could make. I don't even know if Jonathan Golden was selling it himself.
No, that's the funny part. He wasn't selling it. And he had a Creative Commons license that stipulated anyone could use his material for anything they wanted to as long as they didn't use it to make a profit.
Yeah,
That's
he does that, I
only
think, with every
stipulation
song he
had.
releases, actually.
Yeah,
Yes.
he marks the non-commercial thing, doesn't he?
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
part of his song a week
Yeah.
thing that
Which
he
is
does.
incredible. Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and plug him real quick, because if you never heard of Jonathan Colton, you need to be
Yeah.
listening to him.
Definitely. If you're a Portal fan, he wrote the songs from Portal. You need to check out, because every one of his songs are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, they're so good.
But yeah, sorry, I'm just kind of messing with stuff on Evan's table now. With that, like, it's so far I haven't really seen much of it other than, Jonathan Colton saying that's a really shitty thing that you did.
Well, here's a few extra tidbits to the story. For one thing, it was originally released on on a foreign iTunes store, like the Swedish iTunes store.
Yeah.
And then somebody, told Colton about it, and he's like, that's weird, and that's totally not cool. And then they released it on the U.S. store. And so after they released it on the U.S. store, he remastered his own version, named it something like "Fuck You, Glee."
He named it Baby Got Back, the Jonathan Colton cover of the Glee cover.
Yes, that's it. And he promised to donate everything he made to it to charity, put it up on the iTunes store himself, and it quickly overtook the Glee version.
Thankfully.
Yes.
But
the biggest thing that a lot of people hinge on, he actually sent a letter to Fox and the producers of Glee telling them what had happened and saying, I don't know if you authorized this or if one of your sound guys just did this on his own, but it's not cool. And they sent him a letter back saying, legally, we can do this. You can't do shit. You should be glad we're promoting your crappy material on our show. Despite the fact that they never mention his name anywhere in the credits.
exactly, and actually, I don't know who's working at Fox to say that, because technically they can't do that legally. Because under Creative Commons, I don't know if Creative Commons is a law or just a guideline, but under Creative Commons they can't do that.
But I think that goes back to the aspect of the fact that he was performing a cover.
That's exactly it.
If it had been like one of his original songs, he could have raised all kinds of hell about it. But
because he was legally within his rights to make a cover and change aspects of the original song. MC Hammer kept all the rights of the original song, though.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a weird, murky area what exactly rights he retains to his version of that song.
yeah,
And that's what Fox exploited. Now, right now, it's still kind of going on. We don't really have a definitive answer on what's happening there. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Fox wins this, just because they got a fuck ton of money.
they're Fox.
Yeah, they're Fox.
I could see them winning on a legal level, but I think they're going to lose a good chunk of fans.
I think Fox has been losing moral fans for a while, so I don't think they have any kind of.
Yeah, to me, the Venn diagram of Fox fans of Glee and people that will be interested and outraged by this, it's not a very big overlap there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not to be down on Glee or anything. It just seems like Glee has really catered to an audience that would not give the slightest shit about this.
Yeah.
Definitely. And
in the nicest words.
And actually, to discuss that, we actually have a personal story that relates to this. I don't know if Evan remembers, but considering he's the one that starred in it.
Oh, the Adventure Time extended theme.
We did a cover, I wrote, Evan performed, of an extended version of the Adventure Time song. I may or may not edit it into this podcast so people can have a listen. But we basically took the bass beat, we extended the beat, and we added 4 verses. Four verses plus an extended end.
I think it was 3 verses.
We do. We
Well,
do. Finn, Jake, Bubblegum, Marceline, and then we do the end.
Okay, yeah. So yeah.
We basically said on it that you can anybody can cover it if you want, but we would like them to ask permission from us. And when we said that, we were like given a slew of comments saying, you can't do this. This isn't
Well, I
your
mean,
song.
and I don't mind people, I honestly don't care all that much, because what we were doing out of love for something that we did, and it got us a good amount of views.
Right.
It got us out there. But we did say, we're cool with you covering this and everything. All we ask is that we are given credit because we did, take the time to write down these lyrics. They are something that we made. We didn't try to really to hammer it all home about, you have to do this or we'll flag it or anything.
And what
Right.
the interesting thing is, the only reason I put that up there is not even because I wanted to like protect the song or anything. I literally wanted people to ask permission for us so we could actually look at the song afterwards. And
Exactly. So you can
Yeah,
see what they're doing with it.
Link it in and send it as responses and everything. But just people, we got a whole bunch of people that were just like, you have no right to
Yeah.
ask for credit to this song and everything. I plan on posting a cover and everything, but I'm not going to credit you and blah. Just people waving their dick around on online.
Well, that's never going to change.
But
one important thing that you said that I'd really like to touch on, because it really is a central pillar of the post-scarcity topic for today. When you mentioned, why did you make that song? Say that again.
Because we're fans of the show, we really loved it, and we thought it'd be fun to do, and it would help us, get a little noticed out there.
Exactly. You did something creative. Something creative, especially in the field of entertainment, simply because you loved it and wanted to do it.
Yeah.
That is the huge thing behind post-scarcity. Beforehand, when you wanted to read, like, let's say you wanted to read a book, okay? That means that someone had to write that book. That means that someone had to choose between taking the time to, plant crops and actually feed themselves or write that book.
Yeah.
So they had to get paid to write that book. And writing books weren't cheap. You had to have the printing press, you had to have the ink, you had to have someone to carry the books on like horses and mules and shit from town to town. All that cost a lot of money. And so you really needed to make a good profit off of that book to justify writing it. Whereas nowadays, how long did it take you to make that song? I mean, feel free not to give an exact time.
No, we did that, I think, like in an hour.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Like we did like an hour of writing, then we had to do like a few takes of the video.
So let's say 2 hours, and that includes editing the video and putting it up on YouTube. In 2 hours,
3 hours if
you created something, and you put it up for free online, and you did it not out of any monetary want, but just because you felt like it, because you enjoyed the show and wanted to contribute.
Yeah.
That's post-scarcity right there.
Yeah, we didn't even, just as a note to some people who think that, because people who visit my page now will notice that it is monetized now, but that happened in December 2012. The video was posted in, April 2011. So
you mean the ads, the ad thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But for now, we're just kind of the underlying tenets of post-scarcity.
Yeah, I was just saying that just in case people maybe thought that we put it up there to monetize it.
Oh, yeah, in case someone got the wrong idea.
Yeah, I'm just saying that we had that video up for nearly 2 years before I even chose to monetize it. Partly because I thought there might be legal recourse, but after that, I knew.
I mean, if it's getting that many views, it just makes sense.
Yeah, and when we say monetize, you've gotten maybe $2 YouTube money?
I've gotten $8.
Yeah!
Wow! Holy crap. We're getting up there.
So now we have a big budget, guys, so look at the future.
Which, incidentally, is another tenet of post-scarcity, which is that when you have all these millions of people able to create just because of the love of creating and putting it up on this site where anybody in the world can instantly access it, it's no longer worth money anymore.
Yeah.
This is the big thing that our generation is hitting. Why pay $13 for a CD when all of those songs with videos plus other songs that link you back to huge things by the artists, their Twitters, their Facebooks, their Wikipedia pages, all this wonderful information is for free online, instantly accessible.
And that's the cost of DSL.
Yeah, that's where we come in. Because all of a sudden, you've got this stuff, I hate to put it like this, but you got this stuff sapping money away from the traditional entertainment industries, from literary pursuits, from radio, from television, from movies, from artists. You got all this money just draining away.
We're doing it right now on our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. we're putting this podcast out for free. You don't have to pay to access this podcast.
You just have to sit through
at the time of the recording of this podcast.
You just have to sit through an ad at the beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
As I produce it.
We're doing this podcast because we like to do this thing, and just because of the love of producing stuff.
Yeah. I'm not making any money off it yet. Like I said, $8 in 3 months.
And since this is going up on Zach's YouTube, me and Evan sure as hell aren't making any money off of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get out of this one horse town.
But that leaves people like us, me and Evan and Zach, the creative types going into these entertainment industries. That kind of leaves us in the lurch because we did these skills. We chose these paths because we love them. But in order to devote so much of our lives to these paths, we have to be able to make a living off of it. Because even though information is post-scarcity, cheeseburgers and gas and, Verizon internet connections aren't.
Cost.
Yeah, they cost money.
Definitely.
It's not just us. Post-scarcity is affecting the world right now because a lot of industries are built on information. When was the last time you went and saw a travel realtor compared to just going to Expedia.com or something like that?
Yeah.
When was the last time you actually had to go set foot in a library?
Yeah, it even draws back as far as education. I mean, you can anything you want to learn. To some degree, you can learn how to do it. I learned how to play an entire instrument for free online. I didn't have to pay anybody anything. I just had to buy the instrument and watch videos and imitate.
Which instrument?
The ukulele.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Ukulele, Sanshin.
I'm currently learning the Sanshin. The Sanshin is actually really hard to find a lot of good information on if you don't speak Japanese. There's basically one forum online that displays stuff.
But yeah, I was just going through.
Yeah, but the point
Japanese
is, I can learn stuff from that. You can do that.
The Sanshin, the ocarina, the penny flute.
The penny whistle, the guitar.
And the thing is, if in a pre-scarcity world, if Evan really, really wanted to learn the ukulele and the Sanshin and maybe Japanese to the point where he was willing to place down money, that means that every ukulele, Sanshin, and Japanese instructor near him, because of the existence of YouTube and its videos and stuff like that, is suddenly that much poorer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is out one customer.
Yeah. And that's only assuming that Evan is the only one who went online to learn the ukulele, and that's obviously not true.
That's not the case.
Considering tutorials. And to go along with that, there are a lot of trades that you can learn now just by watching tutorials on YouTube.
Right.
Especially the new age, and especially these kind of videos have been popping up a lot. The new age YouTube special effects men.
Right.
Oh yeah.
People who get a copy of After Effects, legal or non-legal, not going to judge.
Yeah.
And basically go online, learn tutorials on how to make these effects in After Effects. Then, after learning how to make the effects in After Effects themselves, probably make tutorials on how to make these effects in After Effects. And that's just a cycle.
Yeah, and it's not just the people directly affected. This stuff ripples out. Like, I've worked a ton of jobs in my life, okay? And at least half of the entry-level, unskilled, minimum wage jobs I've learned, the first couple days, they bring you in, they plop you down in front of a TV, and you watch tutorials over and over and over again. Because most of these jobs, you could learn everything you needed to know just by watching a DVD. Here's the thing, though. Not only are you able to go on YouTube and, watch these things at any time, but the people who make these videos now are suddenly out of job. Because Wendy's doesn't need someone to make a video about how to flip a burger. There's probably 12 videos on YouTube right now about how to flip a Wendy's burger.
Yep.
Wendy's specifically, just because YouTube is so huge.
Yeah, actually, the Wendy's, specifically the Wendy's training videos are actually pretty hilarious in a very, very corny way if you've ever watched.
Oh yeah, I know. I live that, man. Trust me.
And yeah, but before we take a break here, one thing I do want to discuss is, especially with YouTube, is there actually a full post-scarcity with YouTube, or is there simply what we consider it when you factor in things like ads and stuff?
Right. That's good. That leads me into another point too. We'll get to that after the break.
And we're back. Hey.
Yay!
So,
guess
as I
don't
said
feel
before,
bad about being back. Jeez.
well, I guess I'm not the host today, so we can go ahead and say it.
You guys are unprofessional. I'm going.
No, we just like talking over you, Evan.
Of course. That's my life.
So, as I said before the break, there is what I've been thinking about throughout this podcast is we talk about post scarcity on YouTube, but is there really a post scarcity, or is there what we just consider post scarcity when not considering things like ads and Google AdSense?
Well, I think you're always gonna, when things like this occur, especially with the internet being as new and exciting for people as it is, you're always going to find a booming industry for it. But it's kind of like it's a sort of osmosis. I think it's bleeding out of one industry to feed into another.
See, I don't really know that you could argue that, because even though there is a lot of money being funneled into stuff like ads and online ventures like Facebook and stuff like that, it's not nearly as much money as is theoretically being lost by the other industries. And that's because I don't really think you can make, well, okay, you can make any argument you want to. I don't think you can make the argument that this is a blow against post-scarcity. More, it's a reaction to post-scarcity, which is a very interesting topic that some people are starting to bring up: artificial scarcity.
Artificial scarcity. What is that?
Right. Some people are saying this is the way that people like us are gonna have to live. It's gonna save our jobs, basically. Artificial scarcity is when people have all that they could ever want of something and don't have to pay for that thing anymore. You have to convince them that you have a thing worth paying for. Exactly. If it started raining cheeseburgers, if cheeseburgers were no longer a thing, if anyone could walk out in the street any day and just snatch a cheeseburger from the air, then in order to make a living selling cheeseburgers, you would have to convince people that your cheeseburgers are worth paying for.
Are way better than the ones that they can just find outside. Yeah.
That Evan brand cheeseburgers aren't made with the air from outside. No. We only make our cheeseburgers from 100% Black Angus beef.
Yeah.
Cheddar cheese, not that ether cheese you'll get on the street burgers. No. That's why you should pay $3 for our burger.
Ether cheese.
Yep.
And this isn't by any means a new idea. There's
of course
brand names.
Look at the iPhone.
Yeah. Not even way before that. Look at Clabber Girl brand baking powder. You can buy the other guy's baking powder, but our baking powder is 50 cents more because it's better. This is a really traditional reaction to a market becoming more saturated.
What was that? There was this one like medicine, this prescription medicine, or no, it was cough syrup, and the doctors would say it tastes awful. That's how you know it works.
Yeah.
So you make the only good tasting cough syrup, which they've yet to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, this is an old idea here. I mean, since time immemorial, people have discovered that the more competitors you have in a business, the more you have to distance yourself from the pack.
Yep.
And what scarcity basically is infinite competition. And so it requires a huge outpouring of that we're better than them. That's the whole Apple and the iPhone and the iMac and where that whole culture comes into, where people will sit in a line for 3 days just to pick up the newest version of a phone they already own.
Yeah. But another thing to consider, especially with this, is when you look at it from that direction, you definitely see the ideas of post-scarcity, how you can basically take anything from one screen, as many people in TV production call it, they take it from the first screen and put it on the second screen.
Mm-hmm.
But when you flip the screen around and look at the other side, there are now, with YouTube, producers making stuff specifically for YouTube and making profit from making stuff for YouTube. So instead of post-scarcity, you could almost see it as the new market.
Yes. But I don't really think that's much of a blow against post-scarcity. It's more the necessary element of our time, the non-post-scarcity elements of our lives intruding. Because even though the information is free and limitless. How we get that information isn't. We still need people to run YouTube. We still need the coders and the programmers. We still need the physical boxes, the servers and the wires and all that stuff like that. And so they have to monotonize. I mean, YouTube, I may be crazy here, but I remember a time when ads on YouTube were crazy. When you didn't have the little pop-up ads, when you didn't have the ads playing before a video, when you clicked on a YouTube link, your video came up, played through in its entirety, and it was just the video in that square.
Yeah.
So maybe it has otherwhere. But yeah. But people have to monetize. Why do I keep saying monetize?
Monotonize.
So that's where the ads come in.
But
because the only thing you can really guarantee, you can't force people to pay because someone will come up with a site where you don't have to pay.
Yeah.
So you have to steal time away from people.
Definitely.
Take eyeballs.
But you could almost say that they are doing a fight against the post-scarcity idea by trying to accept it as the new market, or by using competitors that offer something that offer a similar ideal but better, which going back, of course, to the competitors' market. Because now you have let's see, a few years, I don't even know how long after YouTube was created, that we had the rise of Hulu.
Yes.
And the rise of, Netflix, I think, started a few years after that, but Netflix streaming didn't start to what?
The point is pay for
Netflix
streaming.
is kind of in a different category there, because you have to pay to see anything on Netflix.
But yeah, you have to pay.
But yeah,
it's streaming sites run by networks.
Yeah,
right.
Organized.
And it's exactly like you're saying. You could probably pirate this video on YouTube, but who knows what the quality is going to be like, and you're only going to see short segments of it broken up. You're going to have to click more links, and it's going to be on the tiny YouTube screen and all stuff like that. If you're willing to pay the money, though, we'll show you the full good quality movie on Netflix.
Exactly.
Same thing, but there's a different quality. I just did air quotes there. Even though there is actually a difference in quality between Netflix and YouTube, but sometimes that's almost completely imaginary. It's kind of funny. You even see this striation within YouTube itself, because there's the sheer amount of piracy that goes on YouTube. And there's the people, like you guys were saying, you told anybody that wanted to, they could take your song. What happened after you told people they could use, or even before you told people they could use that song however they wanted?
People started using it however they wanted.
Which means that I'm betting you probably got 50, 60, 70 people that just straight up copy the song and put it up on their own YouTube account.
Well, special case, we actually did not get much of that until we actually started. People were actually nice about it. They actually asked us first, but we got so many requests to cover it. People are kind of lazy. They didn't just straight up cover it. They asked first because they were too lazy to just do it.
Yeah.
That we actually had to put. And that's what leads into it. We got so many requests that we had to actually put the note in there just to send us a note.
Because originally we didn't have anything, and we were just like, okay, let it be. And then people were like, can we cover this? What do we do? What's the option here?
And then in response to that note, you probably had a bunch of pissed off people. Well, screw them. I'm going to upload it anyway.
Telling me what I can and cannot do.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is there's still that YouTube striation going on, because the original cover by the guys who made it in the original quality is up there on YouTube.
Yeah.
But like you said, you've been putting ads up, and I'm sure if somebody wants to, they could find somebody who's stolen your cover and doesn't have ads playing.
Yeah. Yep. We found it.
They could find it for free if they wanted to on YouTube itself, on the same site. They could find it for free, but it'd either be a reproduction of a reproduction, or it would be a cover by the people who didn't write the song. So there's still that quality issue at play. If people are willing to go through, to click X on the ads or to skip the intro video or whatever, they're willing to put that tiny little bit of effort there, they can get the original quality version from the people who made it. Or if they're so lazy and or stubborn that they don't want to do that, they can find a free version out there. And it's the same for the YouTube stuff, the whole Vivo thing. I mean, when Vivo first came out, it pissed me off too because I was young and conceited and stupid like that. And I'm like, I don't want to watch
about it.
Yeah, I don't want to watch a little clip before. I just want to click on it and see it. And when Vivo came out, almost everything you could find on Vivo was elsewhere on YouTube, but it was in inferior qualities. And eventually, you just come to accept that sometimes it's worth it to sit through the Vivo ad because you're going to get a better quality product out of it. Artificial scarcity at work.
Unless, you're Prince and you just take down every version of the song.
Yeah.
That's an entirely different conversation, though.
Yeah, Prince was never an issue for me because I own like half a dozen Prince albums. I love Prince. I'm not afraid to say that.
I love Prince, too. I love his music. I don't like the person.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that.
But what I was going to say...
please don't kill me, Prince.
Well, that was a short podcast.
Well, if we played the song...
I hear knocks.
If we play the song in the background, it'll get taken down anyway. So.
Yep. Short-lived. But how do you think post-scarcity will affect us in the long run?
That's a good question.
What do you think might happen? What do you think might be a repercussion?
Well, I mean, what everyone hopes will happen is that we'll move into a utopia where everything else will become post-scarcity as well, and you never have to work, but you can do whatever you want to and make a living off of it. That's the dream. I don't think that'll ever happen in our lifetimes, but honestly, what I think we're going to see, I think there's still a silver bullet out there. I'm not near smart enough to tell you what it is, but I think there is a way to monetize entertainment and information that doesn't dilute it, that isn't intrusive, that doesn't have all these legal hassles that pisses people off and stuff like that. I don't know what it is. I don't know when we'll see it, but I hope it comes soon. Personally.
One thing I will go ahead and state on the entire subject is what I think we're taking a look at a generalized purpose of post-scarcity, and we're not really taking a look at the more individual side of it. What I think, especially what I'm saying with stuff like our Adventure Time cover, which of course we're going to be going back to a lot because it's the closest example we have.
Because we're media whores.
Yeah,
well, it's a great example.
But what I'm noticing is even after we put up the ads, we still have people very regularly coming over to our version and sitting through the ads and still watching it. It's a second version on the results.
I just pulled it up here. It's our original one is actually the second result. The first result is literally our audio, but somebody has taken Adventure Time clips and put it over it.
Anyways,
and thankfully they did credit us in the description.
So what I'm going to go ahead and say is, when we have more of this stuff, especially with user-created content being put up on YouTube, what I think is going to boil down to is we can look at post-scarcity from a network side and things like that, but really it's going to come down to what the people will choose to follow and what the people will choose to support. If the fans will choose to support something, they'll want to sit through the ads because they know to some degree that's helping the person that they're watching. So post-scarcity, I don't think will fully become a thing until we find a way to not be able to support people through money.
Well, I hate to take such a dour view of it in relation to your own relatively rosy outlook, but I don't think that's true, Zach, because I personally have seen so many wonderful things try to do that whole crowdsourcing, audience funding, try to survive simply on the merits of how amazing they are, and I've seen so many things crash and burn. Have you guys ever heard of Achewood?
Example.
Huh?
Kickstarter is a great example.
Great example from my side, though. Because
no. What I'm saying is, my example is Achewood. Have you guys heard of this?
No.
It's a comic.
Comic, yeah.
Okay.
It's, in my opinion, one of the greatest comics out there. It's a triumph of the web. It's part of web history. The guy who made it, Chris Onstad, was a genius, in my opinion. And he tried for years of different ways of monetizing it. He tried doing ads. He tried swapping sites and banner ads and stuff like that. He made books. He made shirts. He even put out a cookbook written by the characters from the comic, so in their voice and stuff like that. And he never could get the money he needed. He put up a special paywall with like special comics and people could subscribe to it for money. At one point, he even sunk to asking for donations from his thousands of fans just to stay afloat, and he couldn't do it. At this point, the site's been not dead, but he hasn't updated in probably about a year.
Well, that's the thing,
so sad.
That's an unfortunate story, but that's a considering that's a very small example. I would say Achewood's big. I'm not saying Achewood was small. We're both Something Awful users. I know that we see a lot of Achewood around the forums.
Well, I'm just using that as one example to illustrate my
Well, that's
point.
one example, but then you look at the other side. You have XKCD, which has a huge market inside of it. You have what is that one comic? Perry Bible Fellowship, which has a good market inside of it. Honestly, just because one comic failed doesn't mean that it's an example that they will all fail. You have a lot of comics that have started on the internet that have gone to make it. I know Casey Green's made a bunch of stuff that's gone through a market, and he has a Kickstarter himself where he's doing I think he's doing like Shakespeare comics. And I consider a Kickstarter to be a good support of that because it shows that people, if you offer them, it's basically a give and take. If you offer them something that they would want, they will show that they will pay for it, even though they could probably get something the same for free.
Well, the reason I say Kickstarter is because we've all heard amazing success stories with Kickstarter.
Right,
my favorite is the Tim Schafer.
Yeah.
They literally got like 500 times what they were asking for it because people put into that. But for every great success story we hear of, how many Kickstarters die?
Right.
Yes, but I will say that a good amount of Kickstarters that do die, for one, there have been a lot of fraudulent activities on Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them have died for that reason. And there are just some that... There are some people, and this kind of helps up with the statistic of the failures, who think that their idea would be good, but they I can't remember the exact name for it. There's a book on Japanese inventions that do this. The basic idea being that you can create an invention that's genius and solves a major problem, but in doing so causes another problem. Most of them being that you look like a fucking idiot while using it.
For the record, I do actually love Kickstarter. I think the idea of it...
Oh, yeah. I recently had a project funded through Kickstarter.
Really? What was it?
I'm working on a student film, and we needed money to pay to fly an actor in and for like the crew, for food and transportation and stuff like that. Right. And it just recently got funded.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I do think it's an awesome program and a real great way to show how economics can work on a very small community level of people literally just pouring money in because they want to see something.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's going to be a good long time before it really hits its stride in people understanding what you can and cannot do on it.
I will actually kind of disagree there. Only kind of, though. I am starting to notice now that especially in the last year or so, a lot of bigger people are now starting to use Kickstarter to fund them.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, what's his name? It's either Ralph Bashker or Don Bluth are funding their next animation movie through Kickstarter.
Is Don Bluth still alive?
Yeah.
Still alive, dude.
But the reason that I even brought up Achewood, the underlying reason behind my pessimism is that it's kind of random. The reason that I cited Achewood, because as you and I both know, it was really great. The quality of it was incredible, but that didn't affect whether or not it floated or it sank. We like to think that traditionally in an industry, your success is based off of your skill. But with stuff like with internet and crowdfunding and Kickstarter and stuff like that, it's kind of not. I mean, obviously, a lot of the ones that succeed are because they're good. XKCD succeeds and Randall Munroe is able to make a living off of the comic and his merchandise because he puts out a good product.
Yeah.
And there's other people that may put out an equally good product and don't succeed. And there's no real good metric for how you're going to do that. And for people like us that are trying to go into that industry, just for me personally, that's terrifying.
Exactly. And
no matter how good you are, you could be screwed.
Yeah, and I'll actually agree on that. It's a very risky business, especially nowadays when you have. It's always riskier when you move into a media business when a new form of media has been introduced, because it's not. You don't have to worry about this nowadays, because I was going to say you have to worry about if the new media will work, and we've already kind of proven that it.
Yeah, we know but. It's not so much the internet as it is monetization of it.
Yeah.
And there are methods that are kind of questionable that we don't know really if they're going to work or not.
I see this more as I of course like to keep a very positive outlook as I've shown through this this podcast. I like to consider this as the new VCR scare. The idea that because we can post stuff on YouTube, it's the bigger version of companies worrying about people recording their programs on VCRs.
Right.
It's a bit bigger than that. I will agree with that, but I do kind of consider it around the same reaction almost.
Right, and the reaction is important. Because like I said at the start of the podcast, in my opinion, this might just be me, but post-scarcity isn't necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
And it's something that's happening and that we can't ignore, and our reactions to it. And so one of the reactions to it is like with the VCR scare. It's people like, oh shit. It's people like kind of like me that are like, how are we ever going to make any money off of it? Our industry is doomed. And then there's people like you who are like, oh no, it's all going to be okay. And I think there's there's a lot of discussion to be had between the gap of what we are currently doing and the ways we are addressing this and what we are or should or will be doing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And for basically what I will say is probably my final word. I think that post-scarcity is the thing. It's just as you said. It's not particularly a good thing or a bad thing, because you can make arguments on both ends, as we've proven in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that I don't think it will ever be a one side or the other kind of thing for a very long time. I think that the idea of post-scarcity will always kind of be a constant struggle between the legal and the illegal. The right and the wrong, the
moral
good,
and the
moral and the immoral.
The immoral.
And that will only, and I will even venture to say it will only complicate in the coming years, especially with the new media coming out.
Oh God! Well, I mean, gray areas. I think particularly in terms of the legal terms and covering copyright protection, they don't shrink. They grow and they get muddier. And they just get more complicated.
To actually talk about a media that we kind of talked about last week, but a media that is really starting to grow, of course, is the video game industry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
In the recent years, there has been two major things that I think actually have affected post-scarcity. And that would be, well, I wouldn't say exactly affected post-scarcity, but affected the idea of the use and reuse of items.
Right.
And post-scarcity to that degree. You have first the good. You have the growing of the independent market.
The independent game market, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that especially has been grown by probably some genius marketing by Steam with the Steam Greenlight.
Yeah. With the Greenlight, yeah. And with stuff like the Humble Indie Bundle and stuff like that.
Humble Indie Bundle, I love that. If Humble Indie Bundle was a real thing, I would have sex with it.
You heard it here, folks.
At the same time, probably.
Yeah. All 8 of them.
It only costs $5.
Oh, yes. Man, this is going to be some dirty, dirty pornography.
I have gotten, for $20 combined, I've bought 3 Humble Indie Bundles. For $20, I've gotten 25 games.
Which
Oh,
is awesome, because that's $1 a game for fully developed games.
And
These
like
aren't
that's
just
just a
Flash
general
games
idea.
online.
Like I don't
hold on. You're going to hate me for this, Zach. You're really going to hate me. But I just see a beautiful, beautiful opportunity to darken your day, and I'm going to jump on it with both feet. The whole idea behind the indie bundle is that they have these products, and these are great products. They're amazing games. They almost always are. And you really want these products. And they say you can pay whatever you want, and here's the minimum amount you have to pay to get these games. Zach, how many times have you ever paid more than, let's say, $1 more than the minimum amount?
Actually,
For the humble
the first one I bought was $8, and I paid $15 for it. So
you've only gotten two?
well, the first one.
Because you said $20 for the whole thing.
Well, I was making a general statement.
Okay. Well, okay, that kind of negates my point then. But I was going to bring that into the whole thing about how.
But yes, I will admit that the last two I've paid only like the
You
average
shouldn't
amount.
feel bad for that, because that they say don't feel bad. This is all you have to pay. You shouldn't feel compelled to pay more. But if you do want to pay more, it's going to support these developers to do even greater things. And you even get sliders to show where you want the money to go towards.
Yes,
You
and
can donate money to charity. You could donate the majority of it to the people who made the games, or even to the humble indie bundle itself to keep them in business.
Yeah, and I always try and go half and half with maybe like a 1.25 tip on,
Right.
or 10.5 tip on a.
I just usually leave the sliders as they are.
Yeah, and that's usually
I'm
a good
a default kind of guy.
But what I will say, and let's go over to the bad side of post-scarcity, and like I said, this isn't exactly post-scarcity, but it might affect it in the future.
Right.
Of course, the big news nowadays in the video game industry is the new systems. The PS4 and the
Obis?
the Xbox Cube 360, 720, 1080.
Durango.
Yes.
XP.
Yes.
1200.
And the
Deluxe
Ouya.
version.
and the big controversy with those is they're planning for the next generation to not allow used games to be sold anymore.
Yep.
Game locking. And like I said, that doesn't exactly affect post-scarcity, but it could affect it in the future, especially when people start rebelling and taking these games and putting them available for free on easy download.
Now, I say this, I don't say this out of anger or out of politics or anything like that. If they do go forward with this used game locking, I'm not going to buy one of the consoles. And that's just because I'm poor. I mean, I am. I'm poor. I do not own a single game right now that I ever bought when it was new. Every single physical copy of a game that I owned, I bought used and pre-owned.
Well, I
because
mean,
that's
very
all
few people do these days.
Yeah, that's all I can afford. And I realize that they don't get that money, that money's going back into GameStop or Amazon, whoever had that game, and that they don't like that. You know, I'm cool with that. I'm sorry, Sony. I'm sorry, Microsoft. I'm not your customer base. But I simply won't be able to afford a console that won't afford me that luxury.
Well, and I think, and they're trying to battle the used games market, and I don't for a second think that it's going to work. I think all it's going to really do is contribute to a bigger boom in the used console market.
Yeah.
You're just going to have a lot more people buying NESs and PS2s.
A lot more, and I think, especially if it's software-based, which I'm going to bet it is.
Oh,
the disc locking. The day of its release, there's going to be jailbreak codes.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing's ever permanently done.
Because you know that the people that are building this, at least one or two of them, probably don't agree with what the company are doing and are making little notes about how to circumvent this stuff before the damn thing's even released.
Yeah.
You always hear about leaks and stuff in the companies. Wasn't some of the circuitry or some of the stuff for the iPhone 5 released before the phone was by somebody on the inside?
I don't know anything about iPhone.
I think I've heard. I might be wrong.
I support the open system, which is why I own an Android.
Same here. Evan?
I do not want an iPhone, man. I like being able to get apps that people make in their toilet room. Well,
Their bathroom, Evan. Their bathroom.
I like I particularly love the Android market specifically because it's a lot more. What am I trying to say here? There's a greater variety, and you have a better idea of what you're actually getting.
Right.
Because there's so many examples of what there is, and you can see how people have rated it, how many people have downloaded it, and what their opinion on it has been afterwards.
Right. And I mean, me personally, we've been kind of down on the whole post scarcity just because it is an unknown element of my future for the career I want to go into. But there are so many good things about it, like the app market.
Yeah.
I mean, you no longer have to walk into a bookstore, look at a book, and wonder, is this book full of shit? Is it actually going to suck? The only thing I have to go by this book is what a couple of my friends have said to me, and they might be idiots. I'm not really too sure.
I'm an idiot, so
Yeah, there's a billion apps out there which have been extensively reviewed, which have rating systems right there when you buy the app. It's incredible. It really is incredible. We're living in the future, guys.
And I think the main thing with us, especially because you and me, we're people studying media. Evan is a musician, so we all have know the struggle of trying to get a career. And I think with us, instead of crying over what we might lose, I think we should turn around and try and see what we might gain from this new market.
Right. And even if things are hard, there is that argument that things kind of suck right now, and they kind of sucked before. I mean, as a musician, Evan, would you ever sign on to a label?
No, not really.
Because, we all know, they're money-grubbing thieves.
Every example I've seen of people who have been with a label have hated it.
Yeah.
Because it's a controlling market.
And not only is it controlling, they make all the money.
Yep.
You get so little off of CD sales through a label that it's almost non-existent. Every band that signed on to a label has to make their money through touring.
Yep.
Which you already do if you're a musician, you know. And for you and me, Zach, I mean, Hollywood movies make billions of dollars, and the CEOs and the actors, and they pull in multi-million-dollar budgets. For me, example, as a sound engineer, how much do you think my budget would be if I went and worked on the biggest Hollywood AAA movie out there right now?
You would make a decent amount, but not anywhere near the producer, the director.
$23 billion it would get in returns.
Yeah, no, I'd be making scratch off of that. I'd be making pennies compared to everyone else.
Yeah, and as my business card reads, I am filmmaker and writer. So I can make films, but I'm also I'm also a writer, and I know the hardships of being a writer, where you can maybe get paid for
you get nothing.
Yeah, hopefully. As long as the head writer doesn't just steal all your shit and say...
I mean, it's like what you turn in we read your draft. It was great. We had this one guy changed like one or two things, and we're going to...
So it's ours now. Yeah.
Well, I would say that there are legal things to go with that, but...
Oh, of course, but it's the general idea.
That's a different podcast altogether.
Yeah, and in that vein, when you look at it that way, post-scarcity does seem like a breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
Like all this crap that has built up over the years and has served purely to screw us might suddenly no longer be relevant, might no longer be needed.
Definitely.
And that's where the struggle for us comes in. Because on the one hand, these traditional structures, they're the way to get your career, to make your money. You walk up these steps, and even if you're not making a whole lot, you've got a steady career.
Yep.
But on the other hand, this new path, there's not all that formality. There's not all that everyone else profiting way more off of you than you are. It's new and exciting. It's an unexplored frontier. And there's a struggle between how to approach that and how to address that.
I think there will always
it's always going to be a struggle, especially when you're being creative.
The creative industry is an industry that will always be in turmoil.
Well, it's because it's always trying to eat itself.
Mhm.
It's literally always trying to destroy itself.
The entertainment industry is an Ouroboros.
You have musical genres that are designed as parodies of other musical genres.
Which started out as parodies of original music.
Well, and I think that's because a lot of entertainment, so much of it is just commentary on pop culture, which is based on our entertainment.
But that really is an argument for another time.
That's an entire other story.
So before we sign out here, I will go ahead and say that I know last week we said we'd do something else. We basically had some issues with basically making the podcast.
There were a few technical issues. At one point, I ended up eating an entire thing of ice cream by myself. It was a bad trip.
But basically, we decided that this would probably be a better one, and to avoid problems like this in the future, we're just going to go ahead and not say what we're going to do.
Yeah, not to mention, we just wanted to make sure that it was nice and easy for y'all to process, you YouTubers.
Yeah, YouTubers.
You're just going to steal this podcast anyway.
Oh, yeah. I fully expect to hear the three of us talking over clips from Adventure Time within a week.
Oh, really? I expected to see it with like our voices like turned really down, and then you hear Russian overdubbing.
No, it's just going to be the podcast, but there's going to be a reaction cam of some guy watching it the whole time.
Yep.
And he's going to be very bored.
Yep. It's like they're having sex with my brain.
Anyways, we'll see you later, guys. I've been Zach.
I've been Evan.
And I've been Alex.
See you later.